Careless with Paul Rosen.
Our diets, our Western diets in America are just really, you just don't realize how poor they really are.
What would you say to others who would like to feel better?
Sometimes you need to find the instruction. That's where the testing and everything comes in, because without that knowledge, there's no way I could have got to the point where I'm at today.
Straight talk about health.
And then I start preaching and telling them what I've been doing. And this guy named Paul Rosen has changed my life.
With your host, Paul Rosen.
By the way, the information contained in this program is not approved by the FDA, nor intended to treat, diagnose, or claim to cure any medical condition or disease as defined by Western medicine. However, skilled practitioners of many disciplines have found nutrition response testing to be a highly reliable supportive technology for assessing the health and fitness of the body's functional system.
There are many reasons why more Americans and more folks around the world are developing diabetes. First and foremost is diet. Are there other lifestyle factors playing into this diabetes epidemic? Is it too strong, or is it overdramatic to call it an epidemic?
Not in the least. It's totally an epidemic. When you realize that a third of the population is affected by this condition, I would say that is clearly epidemic proportions.
So off the top of my head, I would guess one thing that's a problem is our more sedentary lifestyles. We live in the age of looking at our screens all day long. That includes our phones, the MacBooks that you and I presently have open in front of us as we speak. Are we getting lazier?
Well, yes, but that would sort of cover up the true cause of diabetes, which is really what you put in your mouth.
So you think maybe that's a contributing factor, but not an overriding significant factor?
Yeah, because what happens is part of inactivity is the lack of inspiration to be active, and that occurs as your body reacts to the poor food choices that you're making.
So we have a chicken and egg thing going on
Exactly.
here. You're getting lazier
Exactly.
maybe, or let's just say less active as opposed to lazier. But you're less active because you just don't have the energy, and that's because you're not eating well.
Not only the energy, but also the inspiration. When your hormone system is discombobulated, the signals that go back and forth through your system, including back and forth to your brain, become, somewhat muted, modeled, upset, interfered with, impinged. You can choose any word you want.
So is that why maybe you might be more susceptible to fatigue or stress or maybe even blue moods?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's what I find in my clinic. That's what we're able to literally turn around. Literally. Right? People think that blue moods or anxiety or ADD, ADHD, anyway, any kind of emotional upset, generally speaking, is in large part, first and foremost, because of the foods that you're putting in your mouth. I mean, I could say this for 2 hours, right? but it's really nutrition oriented. Now, the component, which is often missed and underappreciated, is the effect of the environment on our bodies. For example, people think that their seasonal allergies are due to, pollen, and nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, in 26 years of helping people basically restore normal function in their from their seasonal allergies. In other words, getting them off all of their medications, all their inhalers, all their sprays, all their antihistamines, et cetera, In 26 years, I have never found one person to be sensitive to pollen.
So
now, that doesn't mean that there isn't someone out there. I'm just saying I haven't seen them, and I've been in practice for 26 years.
So what was the issue with those particular patients?
Chemicals. What chemicals become predominant in the atmosphere between the mid-spring and early fall?
The pesticides and insecticides
exactly
which
right.
are being used on farmland and for other purposes here in our very agricultural climate.
Plus, of course, the increase in travel, so a lot of vehicle exhaust and industrial pollutants and so forth. These are the things that people are reacting to. It's just that simple. Don't blame it on nature. Right? Blame it on us and our production of some 80,000 chemicals that we know of, most of which we have no idea how they're actually impacting our bodies, and never will, because it's contrary to business interests to really study the effects of all of the chemicals that we're exposed to. I got off on that basically because it's the environment, right? It's the same thing for diabetes. The environment, the food sensitivities, the overconsumption of high glycemic foods.
Well, that presents an issue because what do you do to avoid environmental factors? I mean, do you become bubble boy walking around
That is a great question.
In a hazmat suit all
and
day?
I ask myself that question on occasion. Fortunately, we have tools that we provide our patients with that are very successful at helping decrease the overwhelm.
Do you pass out hazmat suits?
No, we pass out things like Buco and Hepatica and Solidago and Agricord and Limtone 1.
And these are what?
Those are herbals and homeopathics to help the body with the overwhelm from the condition. Remember, we talked about what is the overwhelm for a diabetic, right? It's the consumption of high glycemic foods leading to insulin desensitization, right?
So, in effect, these products you've mentioned are like shields. They help you avoid these environmental factors?
No, they're really not. They're not like shields. But, I mean, think of it this way. Your liver has a certain capacity to handle chemically the toxicity that it gets exposed to. Mm-hmm. And that liver can be overwhelmed. You can exceed its capacity to handle it. These tools help the liver reduce that overwhelm.
Okay, so that sort of fits my analogy. You're not really creating a shield, but you are creating a better, healthier part of your body, in this case your liver, to handle those aggravating factors.
It'd be like a pump in a sinking boat, right? If you put a pump in a sinking boat, it's taking on water. If that pump is large enough, you'll prevent that boat from sinking.
And better, Paul, here's a better analogy even. Don't get on the sinking boat to begin with, or don't allow the boat to become a sinking boat. How about that?
Ding, 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 ding. That's exactly right. And how would you do that? You would do that, especially if you're already a diabetic and on medications, by eliminating all grains, all fruit, and all sugar. This is not up for discussion. This is not maybe we could do a little. No. If you would like the quality of your life to be restored, and it can be, and Patty is a perfect example. We're going to go to Patty here in a moment. Then that's the first biggest step. Now, you might have some other limitations based on the environmental impingements, but bottom line is you can turn it around. You ate your way there, you can eat your way out.
Now, Patty's thing was that she had, in fact, taken some cholesterol medication, trying to...
That and more. She was on high blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, blood sugar medication. She's on a ton.
So medications were obviously a problem for her and were creating additional problems.
And these were just a few of the symptoms that she was experiencing, besides diabetes, insomnia, chronic pain, leg cramps, of course, the high blood pressure, high cholesterol, weight loss, acid reflux. I mean, leg and foot swelling. I mean, the list just goes on and on for people.
Why do extremities swell like that, your legs and your feet?
Basically because the body fluid flow handling becomes impaired.
Boy, that's pretty horrifying too to see things like that going on.
These are typical symptoms for someone whose bodily functions are in a state of disarray. These are typical symptoms, and typically what happens is they go to a doctor and they just start getting medications, and the medications accumulate, and the next thing you know, you're on 5, you're on 7, you're on 10, and your quality of life simply disappears. Well, let's listen to Patty's second segment, and the first segment set up where she began to realize that there was another way to handle this, And let's check her out.
Here we go.
And have you ever looked at the side effects of your blood pressure medication or your diabetes drugs?
Yes, they say can cause dizziness, can cause nausea. Those are two of the biggest ones.
Two of the biggest, and of course you have experienced both of those.
Oh yeah.
So here you are, following exactly what your doctor's advice are,
right.
which of course, you're doing because you believe that he or she knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
And in all fairness to them, they are following their standard of care.
Right.
Whether or not the standard of care is actually, really appropriate.
Exactly.
Right. And essentially, their nutritional advice to you, all these professionals that you're working with, their nutritional advice to you is?
Go ahead and take the medications, and this will make you get better. Watch your dietary intake of what you eat.
Yeah, just watch your dietary. That's like, it's like standing by the highway and watching traffic. Oh, gee, hey, there goes another candy bar. There goes
Exactly.
there goes a donut. There goes, anyway, whatever. And don't worry about it because you can always take more Actos or more metformin or,
right.
If on insulin, more insulin and everything will be fine.
Or drink more water.
Or drink more water.
That was a big thing. So you're not drinking enough water.
Right.
Okay.
So what's happening there is you are following this advice.
Right.
And the experience that you're having is essentially you watching yourself swirl down the drain.
That's what I was starting to feel like.
Yeah. So, anybody else who is also following that same advice? Any other friends, any other colleagues,
Well, my mom and dad, with their different ailments that they have. My mom had a stroke, and so then it's always, take more medications.
Right. And anybody else? In other words, what I'm getting at is you can watch people take the same path to the same place.
Exactly.
Which is slow but sure deterioration, ultimately ending up in the kidney dialysis ward or something like.
I always thought of it as kind of like a slow trip, down suicide. Very, very slow moving, but that's where I felt like I was headed.
How could that be? How could that be medical care? What is that? I mean, how can we even accept that as useful, information?
I guess that's what you grew up with and what you believe.
Exactly.
So you never think outside the box, or you read different books and like, oh, that just sounds too weird and out of the way. I can't do that.
Yeah, something like what I'm talking about.
Before I met you, yes.
Yeah, and you had, like you said, you had all different kinds of tests. You had the blood tests.
Oh yeah.
You had what other tests? And they're all revealing this, that, and something else. Something I said that I always say in the initial monologue that I do at the beginning of every show is that for people who get blood tests, for example, and they know that they're suffering and nothing shows up in the blood work.
Exactly.
That's one thing. But for people who actually do have something going on and it does show up in the blood work, I wanted to address that because what that is the manifestation of a forest fire.
Okay. So
beforehand, when you just have a few symptoms, because you had some of these symptoms way before you were diagnosed with diabetes.
Right.
So it wasn't showing up in the blood work.
No, it would come back normal.
Right. Yet you had some of these symptoms.
Exactly.
So by ignoring these symptoms or only using methodologies to suppress them, such as medications, what you were experiencing is what most everybody else experiences, and that is this slow, slippery ride to nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, to nowhere. So what was it about what you heard on the radio show? If you can pinpoint it, it would be so revealing to me.
It just, what that caller was talking about, it just resonated with me that, wow, I've been going through that myself too, that if I don't do something now, then it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and to get more meds into me, like, then I'm going to end up in some type of critical care. It's like, I don't want to do that either.
So I mean, and I don't mean to beat the dead horse, as it were.
Okay.
But what I want you to do is, is it just that you were ready? I know a lot of people say that. Well, I was ready to do something different. Or what, I know what it was for me. I'll show you what it was for me. For me, I was so sick I was almost dead. I didn't have a choice. It was either find something or, I'm out of here.
Medications.
Yeah.
They were killing that woman.
Well, the thing is I know, folks, there are plenty of you out there who are already on, diabetic medications, already on blood pressure medications, already on cholesterol medications, already on, other types of medications like digestive or heart, chronic acid reflux medications or diuretics. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. What is your life like? Do you really see yourself and the quality of your life actually improving? Really? Because I've never seen it. In 26 years of my clinical experience, I've never seen anybody who starts on the road to prescription medications and doesn't end up with more, which ends up with more side effects. And ultimately, you're in a bind where, are the side effects greater than the actual condition that you're trying to treat? Right? How many of you are finally ready to step off of that train to a quality of life which looks bleak to me, and certainly it was bleak to Patty and the many people that I've helped to get off that track, especially with respect to diabetes. In this case, that's what we're talking about. Aren't you ready to do something different? That's the key here. The key is there is a safe, natural, and effective strategy that we can use to literally begin to get you off your medications and restore normal function and restore the quality of your life. What are you waiting for?
So there's that, Paul. That's the best method right there, is to start restoring your health. But I wonder, with diabetes having become so much more common, type 2 diabetes in particular, maybe it's been normalized to the extent that many people feel, well, it's something I can live with. I can learn to do certain moderating things and take some medication and make myself at least tolerable, make it so that I can get through the day without a great deal of pain.
The issue, whenever I ask my patients who just come to see me about why it is they came to see me, and what caused them to look outside of their comfort zone, it's really all about getting to the point where they just simply couldn't continue to do what they were doing, and they were inclined to still want to get better. They were inclined to get better. And for many people, that's an issue where they're just willing to put up with all kinds of denigrating behavior.
Right, and just all kinds of daily aches and pains and watching their health
as long as they don't have to do anything.
I think you can rationalize to a large extent. I'll use the example of a friend of mine who got himself into shape a few years ago. Long story short, and he looks at old pictures of himself now where he was heavier, and he says what most people who were heavy at one time say, which is that I rationalized that. I didn't think I was fat. And other people may be overweight and therefore more susceptible to problems like diabetes and just be simply resigned to it. They don't have the willpower or really the motivation for whatever reason to want to improve.
I'm speaking to the folks, I'm hoping to inspire the folks who aren't ready to throw in the towel, who actually really want to change the quality of their life. This is a safe, natural, and effective approach utilizing the nutrition response testing technology. If you want more, go to my website at AcuNatural, acunatural.com. There's some demonstration of the technology. There's also all of the various testimonials from people whose various types of conditions have been positively addressed, as well as the podcasts. Why spend any more time suffering? Right. That's the key. What are you doing Why are you suffering? Fix it. Fix it. It's not that difficult.
So why do you think, Paul, some may feel not motivated to take basic steps to improve their health?
Like I said, I mean, I think, they haven't reached the low point yet. It's kind of like an alcoholic, as a simple example. I mean, everybody knows that alcohol is bad for you. And anybody who reads an article that says alcohol is good for you is just, selling you alcohol. And so the question is that you just have to get to the point where you've had enough. You've had enough. And you want to get better. Some people have tried to get better and failed. We don't fail.
One more note, you can get a free chapter of Paul Rosen's book, The Missing Piece. Just go to his website, acunatural.com, acunatural.com, and fill out the dialog box that pops up. Rest assured, no information you provide will ever be shared with anyone else. So, what are you waiting for? Get going on your personal road to wellness today.